Sometimes, a single word can change everything. Standing beneath the fading evening sky, he looked into her eyes with quiet desperation. He wasn't asking for an explanation or an apology. He only wanted one answer. With a trembling voice, he whispered, "One word is all I need." Then came the question that had been weighing on his heart for so long. "Tell me, this child is mine. Tell me, she's our daughter." His eyes weren't filled with anger, they were filled with hope. Hope that everything he believed was true. But she couldn't answer. Her lips trembled, yet no words came out. Silence became heavier than any confession. The pain in his heart became unbearable. Even breathing felt difficult, but he refused to let go. He gently held on to her, afraid that if she walked away now, he'd lose everything forever. Looking at her one last time, his voice broke. "Please, say it. Just say it." Sometimes, the hardest words to speak are the ones that can heal two broken hearts. The woman looked at the man standing before her, her heart filled with emotions she could barely put into words. There was only one thing she wanted to say. "I have to." Slowly, she reached out and held his hand. Looking into his eyes, she whispered, "I have to say it, for this man." Her voice trembled as she finally confessed, "You're right, the child is yours." For a brief moment, time itself seemed to stop. The man stood frozen in silence, unable to believe what he had just heard. Neither of them could find the right words. Only one question escaped his lips. "She's our child." Before anyone could answer, everything faded into darkness. Side story. And just like that, the story takes us 7 years into the past. A younger version of her stared at something in complete disbelief. "But, there's no way." She rubbed her eyes, hoping it was just a mistake. "This can't possibly be real." Confused and overwhelmed, she kept staring at what was in her hands, completely unaware that this single moment would change the course of her entire life. Ever have one of those days where you just want to sink into your desk and disappear? Yeah, that's exactly where our heroine is right now. The flashback, she's spiraling, trying to calm herself down. But her brain? It's not helping. It keeps drifting back to that one romantic moment, you know, the dreamy one where everything felt perfect. But then, reality kicks in. Hard. She snaps back to the present, and the realization hits like a ton of bricks. She looks down at her desk, and there it is, 3 pregnancy tests. All positive. There's no hiding from this one. She's panicked, she's confused, and honestly, she's ready to blame everyone, especially the guy. She's right in the middle of a total meltdown when suddenly, buzz. Her phone goes off. Talk about bad timing. Let's see how she handles this one. What time is it? Our main character wakes up, realizes she's running terribly late, and immediately goes into full panic mode. She frantically rummages through her drawers, tossing things aside trying to get ready in a flash. After a lightning-fast rush to fix her hair, she dashes out the door, her feet practically flying across the pavement. She weaves through the busy city streets, desperately trying not to keep him waiting. But the moment she arrives and spots him standing there, all her stress completely melts away. She calls out to him with a bright, "Appa." Meet Jang Shinwoo. He's 26 years old, standing at a perfect 179 centimeters, and yes, he is officially her boyfriend. Seeing her shivering, Shinwoo instantly frowns and asks, "Why did you come out dressed so lightly like that?" Before she can even answer, he steps forward and gently wraps his warm coat around her shoulders. Talk about the ultimate green flag. These two have been happily dating for 6 months now, but how did this adorable romance actually begin? Let's find out. 6 months ago, my life was completely spinning out of control. I was thousands of miles away from home, trying to survive on a working holiday visa in Australia. One day, the pressure just became too much. I hit rock bottom, crying right outside a Korean grocery store because I didn't even have enough cash to feed myself. That's when he walked into my life. Without a single moment of hesitation, this total stranger handed me money just so I wouldn't starve. From that very second, he became my entire world. He was everything I ever wanted. Caring, fiercely protective, and completely reliable. In my eyes, he was the definition of the perfect man. Even today, looking at him, he still seems flawless. He looks down at me, smiling, completely trusting me as his personal stylist. He's perfect. Absolutely perfect. But in a world like this, is anyone ever truly without a dark side? They say that no matter how extraordinary a romance starts, it always finds a way to a sad end. And looking back, the signs were there all along. As they walked together, he casually turned to her and asked if she wanted to grab something to eat. But instead of saying yes, she immediately tensed up, stuttering out a quick, "No, I'm fine." Her rejection caught him off guard. He stopped in his tracks, his voice dropping as he repeated her words back to her. "Did you just say you're not gonna eat?" Terrified of upsetting him, she could only nervously look down and whisper a quiet confirmation. His gaze pierced right through her. Before she could even process his mood shift, he reached out, trapping her face between his hands. It looked like affection, but to her, it felt like an anchor. Without giving her a choice, he pulled her close and commanded, "Let's go. I'll take you back home." As dusk fell over the city, he brought her safely back to her door. But even his parting words carried a strange, heavy weight as he urged her to hurry back inside. She was safe for the night, but the unsettling perfection of his control was starting to feel less like a fairy tale, and more like a trap. She tried desperately to push back, waving her hands in a panic. "No, no, I'm not tired at all. I'm completely fine," she pleaded, trying to find an excuse to stay out. But he didn't care. With a cold, commanding tone, he shut her down. "No, you look tired. Go and get some rest." He made up her mind for her, claiming he had work to finish at home anyway. His hand lingered on his neck, a sharp reminder of his suffocating presence. But just as the tension reached its peak, a voice shattered the silence. "Han? Lee Young-oh." Out of nowhere, another guy called out to him, stepping under the streetlights with a bright, familiar wave. It was an old classmate, a senior. The senior smiled, completely oblivious to the thick tension in the air. "Yo, how come you got so costly? It's been a really long time since we've seen you." He playfully teased him about being missing in action, asking if he was just too busy. Young-oh could only mutter a stiff, forced reply, "Yeah, I was a bit busy." But the sunbae didn't stop there. With a knowing grin, he threw out a casual joke that made the world stand completely still. "Because you had to go on dates? Haha." In that split second, Young-oh's expression turned absolutely lethal. His eyes darkened with a terrifying, silent rage. The sunbae casually waved goodbye, saying, "Well, give me a call later. See ya." But as he walked away, a heavy, dangerous silence settled over the street. The mask was slipping, and she was trapped right beside him. The casual encounter should have broken the tension, but instead, it completely changed the trajectory of the night. "He's a sunbae from the same department. He lives nearby," Young-oh muttered coldly, dragging her along. Before she could even process it, his hand gripped her arm tighter. "Let's go up." She stumbled over her words, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Huh? I thought you said you had work to do." He didn't answer. The silence in the stairwell was deafening, broken only by the heavy thud of their footsteps. Standing right in front of his door, a wave of panic washed over her. "I'm not sure I should be here," she thought, looking at the digital lock. "I'm not sure how he handles having people over." But a darker, desperate thought pushed through her fear. "No. This is better for me. I have to tell him right now." She knew she couldn't keep living under his suffocating rules. She needed to speak up. But as he reached out to open the door, her mind went completely blank. What should I say? What if he misunderstands my intentions? The lock clicks open, but before she can even take a step inside his apartment, the world completely spins. Without warning, he pulls her flush against his chest in an intense, suffocating embrace from behind. Her fingers go limp, and her bag slips away, hitting the floor with a dull thud. He buries his face right next to hers, trapping her completely within his space against a deceptively soft, glowing backdrop. He leans in even closer, his grip tightening until it feels less like a warm embrace and more like a physical cage. And right there, in the dim light of the closing door, he whispers, "My Lee Young-oh is too pretty." He buries his face in her shoulder, murmuring with a strange, heavy weariness, "It's troublesome." She can only freeze, caught entirely off guard by the sheer vulnerability mixed with intense possession. But before she can even speak, his grip tightens. He whispers softly against her ear, trying to soothe her rising panic with words that sound like a gentle reassurance, but carry a suffocating weight. "Don't worry. You're way prettier." Shocked by the bizarre direction of his obsession, she tries to pull back slightly, her voice trembling. "What are you saying?" He doesn't let go. Instead, he pulls her even closer into his embrace, his head resting heavily over hers. His voice drops into a deep, intense confession that echoes through the quiet apartment. "You're far more beautiful than me." For a split second, the world seems to stand completely still as she rests against him, a deep, heavy sigh escaping her lips. But the brief moment of quiet is broken as his grip shifts. He feels how cold she is, murmuring, "It's cold." He doesn't give her a moment to breathe. Leaning in, his breath brushing her skin, he whispers a promise that makes her heart drop, I'll warm you up. Before she can protest, he tilts her head up and pulls her into a deep, consuming kiss. The soft pink hue of the apartment fades around them, trapping them in a moment that feels entirely overwhelming. No. Wait, she thinks desperately, her mind screaming for him to stop as she weakly tries to find her ground. But the words stay trapped in her throat. As they break apart, standing quietly in the soft light of the room, a chilling realization washes over her. Looking at the man who had once been her savior, a haunting thought echoes in the silence. Now, I wonder. Gathering every ounce of her remaining courage, she looks up at him, her hands trembling as she prepares to finally break the illusion. I have something to tell you.